Gauthier, I think I have an idea to push people, writing down questions in the chat.
Oh, yeah?
What we can do is something like this. Like I take this scanner,
All right.
and I just drag it and push it to the people here live. And I say it's a hold up, okay? Put your hands on the keyboard and write down your questions right now. All your questions. We want all of them. What do you think?
You know what? I'm not sure it's the best idea to do.
Maybe there is a different way.
By the way, we are live now.
Ah, yeah, right. Okay. Okay, so Guys, welcome then to this new Odoo Insider session. So as usual, here you can let's say attend this session and ask any questions you have either on YouTube or LinkedIn, and we will take a look at it, all together. The idea is that we explore it, let's say from the start to the end, and try to see exactly what are the different steps in order to let's say find an answer in Odoo. We'll try to do it in Odoo 19, let's say as much as possible. Of course, if you want to have a question in a different version, just let's say tell it in the questions so that we can make sure we choose the right version. Also, maybe before starting, a small let's say point on the agenda. So as I said, today it will be a regular Q&A session with myself, and next week we can let's say find Antoine.R back here in the studio for a new regular Q&A session as well. And just for you to note here, for the ones who have maybe some very advanced questions about website and e-commerce, or maybe some news coming with Odoo 19, note that there will be a very specific question session for that on the 20th of November, with the expert here of the website application that will come and that will answer your questions. Well, I see that maybe my joke at the start, let's say, motivates you, because we have already a lot of questions here in the chat. So let's try to look at it. The first one is from Ikramul here, who asks us, hi, can we change the current view of contacts who are associated with a company? Currently, a contact and company's name comes together, whereas there is already a company field in the list view. Please confirm if there is any way to change the layout through Studio. So there are two questions in the questions, but here let's answer the first one. And let's go here in my database. So I will just zoom in a bit, and I will also, let's say, go to the full screen to start. Yes. And let's go here in the contact application. I guess what you are saying is that here, if I decide to add to my view, maybe not here, actually not by default. Let's maybe activate debug mode as well, that I have all my settings. But here, indeed, in the name of my contact here, I have, let's say, the name of my person, if it is an individual that is not linked to a company. But as long as it is linked to a company, I find Azure Interior again, and then comma with the name of the person afterwards. While the name of the person is simply Brandon Freeman in that case. Of course, in terms of field, the information that is stored is, well, let's say the name only. What you could have indeed is a bit of redundancy. If, for example, we decide with Studio, for example, to add a new column, which would be here the parent company, related company here, and add it in the column. Because at this point here we might have both the name and the related company and Azure Interior, which is common in between both. Note that indeed you can decide to change it if it is about the list view, especially here about your question. To do that, we need to pay attention to this column here and understand what it is. And we will see that this column here refers to the field which is called complete name here. Complete name is a bit different, let's say, than the name that we usually have in, let's say, in my database. And for that, here we can simply go in the list of my fields on my model, type name, and you will see actually that we have a lot of name fields in my model. Let's say that the one that I fill in when I go in my form view and just put the name of my contact is this one here. But the one that is displayed in my screen for now is the complete name. And complete name, if you want to know what it is exactly, what we could do, let's say if you are a bit curious, is to simply take the name of that field. And here I will go in my GitHub repository of Odoo and in the let's say in the community version. And look, here I will look for my complete name. Of course, here I have many different, let's say, places where this name is defined. But let's try, let's say, to look if I can find it on my REST partner model. Yes, here it is. Get complete name. Okay, so let's go maybe there and see what we find. And here, let's zoom in a bit again to see what we have. Yes, so here, indeed, we have some kind of, let's say, if we have a company name or a parent ID, it's going to probably here do a bit of concatenation in between both. Well, anyway, here what we can see in the code, if we dive into it, is that the complete name is computed, and it's computed based on the name of the person and the company name as well. Here that we can find. So that's why here then, once we know that, what we can do if we really want to have, let's say, 2 different columns with the name and the company, is just here to modify my view, and I could decide to just retrieve my simple name in my fields, which is this one. And here, this one, make sure that it is invisible by default, for example. And now, here I see Brandon Freeman on the left and the company in the second column. So that's probably the way to answer your question in that case, okay? Know that it's not going to change the way my contacts are going to be displayed on the quotation, for example. Here, if I add here and look from Brandon Freeman again, it will still assign it to Azure Interior, okay? So this process here is not going to change. It's because of the way, you know, my field is going to be, so my record is going to be displayed, and that's what we call in that case the display underscore name. It's complicated because here, if you want to change that, okay, it's not your questions, but just maybe to think about it, it's a bit more complicated because you might need to change it in a lot of different places in Odoo, because of course the contacts are used in lots of places, or you would need to change the way the display name is computed in the code, and for that reason you might need to do it through some code. And once again, here if I look at my display name, I might find it probably at the top. Compute display name here, yes, and yes, the fact that it happens like both the name and the parent ID, and that's something indeed that you might need to rewrite, you know, if you want to not see it anymore, you know, in the interface. That's probably the easiest way of doing it, but it requires development if you want to do it. So that was an interesting question to start, and you had a second question in your message. Also, one more doubt: is there any way to create a centralized place for all incoming and outgoing emails? Thing is that for the outgoing emails, okay, so I'll start with the easy case. You have actually a list of all the different emails that are sent out of your database in the emails here settings. So if I open it here, I will get an interface showing all the different emails that are sent out here in my chat. That's, let's say, a way to have access to this information. You need to know that not all of the emails will remain forever in that list, because it depends on the way, especially the email templates are set up. Here, because by default, the email templates in the settings might be in auto-delete. The purpose being that we don't want, let's say, to store information that might not be relevant in the long term, and so that every time the email is properly sent out, we are going to remove it here from the model emails. But still, if you really want to keep everything, you could decide to remove the auto-delete everywhere and then get access to all the emails that are sent out in the email list. But you need to know that once you do that, of course you get access to the emails. You maybe don't get access to all the things that are sent out of Odoo. I might think, for example, about the notifications that are sent. If I decide here to look at a contact, and I don't know if I ping Abigail, for example, no, let's say not Abigail, but Mark Demo, for example. Mark, no, okay, Maggie, for example, okay. Hello. This is still an email that is sent out, but I'm not sure I will find it in the list of emails. Let's try. No, it's not there. Okay, so that's because it's a different it's a different thing. It might be in the notifications. Let's take a look at it. No, not here, but notification is another technical menu that we have. And here we might see as well some kind of messages that are sent out, you know, in Odoo. But here we don't even see the body of the message. Let's see if we can display it or not. Do we have something like this? Not really, actually. And is it maybe just invisible by default? Not so much as well. So yeah, that's just a summary then of what is going on, but we don't even have the content here about, yes, we have a message, and yes, okay, we can open it like this. And you see here that Odoo is bringing us back to another model, which are the messages. And that's probably here my point, is that most probably, so if you want to get a summary of let's say all the different things that are recorded in Odoo in the chatter of any models, the best place to do it are the messages, which is the third places where we can see it. And messages here, and actually we can see, for example, the message that I just typed in my list. We can also see here the emails that are sent out based on the event. And we can see that we have some outgoing email and incoming email as well. So messages could be a good idea indeed to play with, because that's probably where we get most of the information about what is outgoing and incoming. And actually a message is simply what you have in the chatter. So as long as you have something here displayed on the right of a record in the chatter or at the bottom, anyway, that's something that is called a message. So you have a lot of information, of course, in the messages, because you have all the things also that are tracked, that are changed on the record. So maybe not everything is relevant, but at least you know that you can start from that model and maybe play with some filters, saying, okay, I want maybe to only see the one that have a certain type here that are incoming emails, let's say, and outgoing email as well, like this. And so already I have maybe a shortly that is going to be computed. And I mean, I just need here to, let's say, to fine tune my filter and make sure that I can take a look at what is truly important. I could even, let's say, if I want to make some statistics or whatever, decide to activate here my pivot table, for example. And here I could group it by type there. And I mean, just here count what is, let's say, coming in, getting out, and just click here to get the corresponding content in my table. That's something that I can play with. So it really depends on what you want to do. But I think there is still a limitation for that, because in Odoo it's possible that you send an email without, let's say, displaying it in the chatter. In some cases, I think, let's take the example of the users. You know, a user does not have a chatter on it. So here I don't have the chatter, but still I can send some emails, or I can, I don't know, like send anything that I want, like a password reset instruction, something like this. And it's not just, let's say, the only model where we don't have a chatter. So it's important to keep that in mind, because some of the emails might not be sent as messages, and so might not be displayed in the messages model, you know, for you to make your statistics. So it kinds of maybe depends on what you want to track exactly. So yes, just try that. Okay, keep that in mind. I think as well that when we go in on Studio and create an automation for an email to be sent out, let's try to do it. Let's say on welcome email, when I just decide to create a contact. And there, the fact that I can indeed decide to send an email, but here I can send it either as a message, something that is going to maybe to appear in my message model, or an email like this. And let's try to try, you know, if I just send it as an email, to see if it appears in the messages or not. I don't know, but let's try here. So Antoine, and I will put make it as a person and put an email address. I save. Okay, so the message, let's say here the email is sent, and actually I should find it as a message probably here still. Okay, yeah, it appears. So I think the difference is that do you want it to be maybe shared with the let's say with the followers of the record or not, if we decide to send it as an email or a message, whatever. But okay, that's still an idea that you can think of, you know. So start from the messages and play with the filters and things like that to know what is incoming and outgoing in your database. All right, so that was it for this question. Let's take a look at the next one from Vadim. Vadim will ask us, hello, what does it imply that by default the calendar default privacy is set to public? So there, of course, we discussed about the calendar application, and the fact is that indeed, so as any, let's say, shared calendar in a company, when you create a certain event on it, like my event, like you might here have access to the calendar of other people of the company. Let's say like Marc Dimo, which is my colleague or whatever. And indeed here, depending on what I select on the left, I could decide to take a look at the respective, let's say the corresponding calendar of one of my, let's say, colleague or customer or whatever. And your question is, indeed, by default, it seems, when I just click on an event, that the privacy of my email is set to public. So here, let's take a look, because actually here I don't find it anymore, but when we created the meeting at first, the event at least, here we have a visibility option that is displayed. That's going to see, let's say, if it is available for public, let's say everyone, also people who are outside of the company, if they just take a look at our calendar, Private, of course, it's only for ourselves, and only internal user, it's for ourselves and people who are internal user of Odoo if they use the calendar application. And indeed, I probably, if we don't define it by default, it's going to take the first value available, which is public in that case. So we have a field here that is then called most probably visibility or something like this. Or maybe what I can try. No, actually, we don't see exactly what is this field here, but let's try. If I save it and I play with the data. Privacy. Okay, so that's the name of my field. And okay, and that's there that we define it. Okay, so it's on the right. So I think that's what it implies. Most probably, by default, if we don't define it, I guess that it might be public indeed by default. But here it's not even defined. What you can do if you really want to restrict it to a certain value might be to play with the default values. So let's try. Let's say if I want to make it private by default and people to decide if they're going to change it or not. Here, let's try to set the default value of the privacy field as private for all the users. Now, if I create a new event, yes, it's going to be private by default. So about your questions, what does it imply? Most probably it's going to imply that, let's say, people can access the information of other people calendars, and maybe how to have an impact on that could be to play with the default values to change it. Default values which are stored for your information in debug mode in the user-defined defaults. And there, somewhere in the list, then I will get here my privacy default value, which is for now, let's say, applied to all the users, because here I did not define any user in my settings. So yeah, that could be a way maybe to have an impact on this. Good. Let's take a look at the next question from Julian, with two questions as well. So first question, how to see and export in Excel the list of consumption multi-level BOM components for manufactured final products during 1 month for Odoo 18 and 19. So here, maybe what's a bit tricky in your case is that you want to, let's say, you have this notion of multi-level BOM components. So maybe what we can try just to highlight it is just to create a similar situation with products. So let's say that I have my, let's say, raw material, like this. Yes, as simple as that. And then I have some semi-finished product, like this. And to produce a semi-finished product, I need to get some raw component, raw material, let's say 1 unit. We keep it simple for now. And finally, let's create a finished product. Which will be, let's make it a bit tricky. Let's say it's both some semi-finished product and some raw material as well, like this. All right. So if I keep it like this, let's say, and I don't, let's say, decide to make it as automated, I will need to create each manufacturing order to make it work, and most probably replenish my goods from my raw material. I could decide as well to make things automated. If I create some reordering rule, for example, let's try maybe to do that. So here I have my finished product, I have my raw material. Okay, now let's make product materials that I only see the one that I want. Yes. And here my raw material, so I'm going to say that I want to purchase it to Abigail Peterson. Why not? Okay, with certain price, I'm good. And I create a reordering rule here. I will set it as 00 and buy it. So it should be good like this. And then for my semi-finished product, I'll do the same. But in that case, I want it to be produced, manufactured, yes, with a 00 as well. And finally, for my finished product, I think it should be good. This one, I mean, I could set it to 00 as well if I want to sell it, but here, okay, let's do it in 00. I think it will be easier, and I want to manufacture it as well. I can leave it empty here, okay, the root. It's going to take then the one option that I have. If I have two options, of course, I can decide which one I want to use by default. All right, so let's go and decide to sell here now to my customer finished product. Okay, very good. So I don't have any in stock for now. But what happens is that once I'm going to confirm it here, okay, so I have my manufacturing orders and my purchase order that are going to be linked now to my data. It's funny because I would not believe it would be the case. Let me just check something, because maybe I did not pay attention, but my manufacturing to order or make to order route is activated. No, not even. Okay, maybe it's a new feature of Odoo 19. Anyway, okay, let's go to manufacturing then and take a look at my manufacturing orders, and here I have then my finished product and semi-finished product that are here. If I want to proceed, I need to purchase my goods, and so now I want first to go to my purchase application, to Abigail Peterson here. Let's say that I want to purchase more product than expected, 10 maybe, confirm the order and receive my goods in my warehouse. Then when I go back to my manufacturing orders of my semi-finished and finished products, let's maybe, because your question is about the consumption of goods, and so here let's maybe try to make things a bit more tricky and say, actually I consumed 2 of them, maybe instead of 1, to produce my semi-finished product, like this. So consume a different quantity, please confirm, yes, it was. And then I go to my finished product, and in that case, same, let's say that we have a small difference, just to make it a bit different. And then here as well, I want to confirm it. So then we are in your case. So because here then we have some let's say 2 bill of materials that let's say 2 manufacturing orders that were created and that are linked, let's say, to the same process. There, what we need to find out is is there something in common that allows us to link things together? It could be the source. Okay, so here the source of my manufacturing order is a piece of text, of course, but it's still a reference here to my sales order here. But maybe let's take a look at something else in the fields. Is there anything that is linked to order? Sale order line, yeah, why not? So the sale line ID, but I mean, we can try, but most probably it's not going to work. But here, if I decide to group it by sale order line, how can I do it? Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's take a look at the source. Source is working as well. But here, the thing is that the source is still different for both. Of course, because it's not the same thing that triggered, of course, the manufacturing of those goods. Let me just come back here to my field. Yeah, it is stored still. Origin, it's origin sale order line. Okay, let's try to select this one then. So it's with O, yes, this one. And I want to uncheck source. No, no, both are not linked together. Yeah, maybe the source is still the best way to do it, because let me just think about a way to make it efficiently. Because here, of course, just to answer your question, I could, of course, start from here, select the 2 manufacturing orders that I know are linked together, and decide here to export it there, and then to look at my lines somewhere. No. Well, I just need to look at the name of my field here, components. Let's come back to it. Just to prepare the export file first. Component. Yeah, this one. And here, if I look at consumed quantity or something similar. Yes, there are quite a lot of fields, of course, on there, but product on hand quantity to consume. So this one is still interesting. The quantity as well. Real quantity. I mean, we can already start with that and see what we have in the file if I just export it already. So yes, what's important then is the quantity. So it's the one that we exported here, which contains the consumed quantity that we want. And here, of course, different data. So now that we know what we need to export, here I can, let's say, save it as a template, report for consumption. All right. Now let's try to take a look now at how you can efficiently, let's say, filter and select the thing that we want to export. Maybe. Maybe I have an idea. Let me think about that. What you can try maybe is to play with the dashboard. Let's see. But is it going to work? Or to play with a filter? But my idea is to play with a filter saying I want my, let's say, I want to look at my main product. So saying here my product in that case should be my finished product, or I want to look at a product which has a bill of material. No, it's the reverse actually. So we want to look at a product which is my semi-finished product, or a product which has a bill of material and let's say the component on it, or the, what is the name of that field? Let's say BOM lines, yeah. And then product, which is there my finished product. If I apply this, so here I see this one. Ah yes, so here it should be finished product as well actually. Okay, but it's interesting because here when I do that, no, okay, it's still going to look at this any. Yes. If I do that, it's not going to change. No, of course, it doesn't make sense if it was. So here, what I want to do is to look then for manufacturing orders that are for my finished product, or manufacturing orders that are for a product for which the bill of material is linked. Ah, yeah, no, but indeed, it's not how it should be done. Yes, that's in the lines actually. Okay, I need to just make a step back to see exactly how we can do it. So let's come back to my products here and look at my semi-finished product. Yes, okay, so what we should find actually is the reverse, because for now my semi-finished product is used in my bill of material of my finished product. So there should be somewhere a way to add a field on my model. Maybe it's there already. So let's take a look first if it exists or not. This field should be then linked to the model of my component. So here my lines, MRP BOM line, because in my MRP BOM line I have a product template, so I can get one too many field that I'm going to add afterwards. But let's add it here. One too many. Here, BOM. Yes, this one. Good. All right. Yes, and here in that list, I should get in the existing models the name of the product that should be let's say parent product template, or the product template only. Let's try this. No. Yes, exactly. Good. So what I could do then is to say, okay, I want to start from my product. I think we can do it. Or yes, a product template now, which has, let's say, a field that actually I did not give it a name, but it's something like studio. Yes, this one, and then here my parent product template, which should be finished product. Good. Okay, so we might manage to do it. So here what I did is that by adding this field on my model, I am now able with one criteria, which is to look at my final product, to exactly come back here to all the different bill of materials that are about this product for a certain month. Because then, of course, I could decide to just group it per month here and then have the different information. Then, now that we know that, we can keep it on hand. And what I will do is to decide to insert this in a spreadsheet. Let's try like this, okay, and add, of course, we can add as many components as we want. And just here add a filter, which will be a relation. Let's just add product, we don't care. Here and for now product template. So if for now I just decide to use my filter and put the value in finished product, I will get only this one. But then I could decide how can I do it? I just want to make things easy because of course we don't want maybe to do it for one product at a time. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. It's a good case actually, but I would like here, of course, for it to be easy. So maybe let's continue. Just add some more information, like of course because we could decide to select the months as well, which would be linked then to the date of my let's say of my manufacturing order, which could be in that case like why not the deadline, for example. Okay, let's make it like this. The thing is that now, of course, we can then select the months. We want to look at this. My ID, actually, but here at least we don't even have the information. So what is probably not the best model to be used, because we should start from the lines actually here of my model, and my models is stock move. If I go, yes, product moves. Okay, so here I have my quantity, and that's indeed because it goes from production, so I can make a filter on that to see all the details. And then okay, so let's try to move on. So what we have is that we can go to the stock move, and for that there is certainly a menu here about my moves history. So this one is about the stock move line, about the moves analysis, stock move, yeah, good. And here I could say I want, let's say, I want it to be part of the production, but most probably it's something that can be linked to an operation type. Yes. Which is manufacturing. And I only see then my manufacturing order like this. And here, I could decide to add a related field from the reference. But the reference is just a piece of text for now, but maybe there is still a way to, because for now my manufacturing order is part of the model MRP production. Let's take a look if we have something like this. Created production order. Production ID. Let's try to take a look at those ones. So here, No, there's nothing on this one. All right. So let's apply back my filter to only see the one from the operation type of manufacturing. Good. And so here I have, yes, details coming from there, and especially here. So I see that, so I have my work order number 9, which is to produce my finished good, and work order number 10, which is the one for producing my semi-finished good, which are part of it. Okay, so here, yes, okay. If I decide to group it, no. So because here, yes, okay, so that's this one which is defining that I have produced. No, this one means that I produced my good. Okay, so finished good and semi-finished product. Okay, so in red I have all the consumed goods that are here. Of course, I could decide just to group it here by creation date per month. That I see per month exactly what I have been producing. Here I can just, of course, just remove the one that are produced and take only the one that are consumed. So it's still a way, of course, to get the list here of the Excel file and just export it all to get the information. But in your case, yeah, maybe it's already enough. I don't know, Julian. Maybe just to move on, maybe, and just take a look at some other questions. If we stop here, so if we stop at this place, where we have, let's say, information about what has been produced in which quantity, for which product, for a certain period of time, what do you think? Is it something that could be enough, or do you want to go one step further? And if you want to go one step further, just maybe describe it in the chat so that we can try to identify for which reason it could be, But at least here we have maybe part of the answer already, because we know exactly, of course, which are the different reference coming from which manufacturing order. But yes, tell us maybe if there is anything different. You had a second part of your question. Each SO line gets a unique ID at confirm. Every MO created from that SO must contain those SO IDs. So at the end, I can see the ID on SO lines and on EMO's search filter. I think that what we saw, here is that in the fields we have the sale line ID, which is this one, and most probably it's going to be populated if we activate the manufacturing to order option. Let's try maybe to notify that part. So here if I make MTO available, and I decide to sale again here some so let's say my finished product only, but define that I want to use not here. Yeah, okay, but maybe let's try it first to look at my because here if I look at my reordering rule, of course, I'm not sure I can choose. Yes, I can. I can choose here my MTO. Good. Perfect. So that now if I confirm it, I have a manufacturing order, which is this one. And here we can try to look if there is the sale line ID that is populated or not in the data. No, it's not. Let's see maybe how this field should be populated. If we go in the code of Odoo, we should find an information about that somewhere. No. Yes. Origin sale order line. it's not even computed. At least not here. It's also a stock move. We can maybe try. No. Okay. Yeah, it's not even in read-only. So it means that there, if I look at this field, maybe it's already part of my view, but maybe not. No, it's not. Yeah, this field is empty and I can select it. Okay, so indeed, so this field is there, but it doesn't seem to be computed at any moment. So yeah, it's I mean, so if it was populated, of course, you could use it indeed to play with your filter and try to come back to the sales order ID that you are referring to. Know that this sales order ID is still part of the source as well, okay, along with another reference, but at least it is also here. I think then you will need to make development if this field is not auto-populated, you know, so that it is populated at the creation of the manufacturing order, most probably by taking a look at the source and try to get back to it in a way, but it's a bit tricky because like you need to compare a char field and get the reference to it, knowing that the sales order might have several lines, and so that the link is not direct in between both. Here the sale is based on the method, so we cannot make the link based on that. So yeah, I would say that if you want, let's say, the link to be done, you need development. You need to insert a logic in Odoo that's going to look for the corresponding sales order based on the name of the product and the reference of the order that is used to produce it, to populate that field. But at least from the code, I don't see a place where this field is populated automatically, even when I am in MTO. So if, of course, you manage to do it differently with a different case, that's good, but apparently here from my test, it doesn't seem to be the case. And I mean, the field is something that you can adapt, that you can edit. So that's what is making it even more, let's say, weird, because it probably means that it's not supposed to be computed in the code as well. So yeah, I would say that's the way it is, and so that if you want to do it either manually or with a code to find the corresponding sales order line, yeah, so that's something that you cannot do, that you cannot automate. Okay, and that's because, you know, here, let's say the link in between my sales order and my manufacturing order is not simply a many-to-one, one-to-many. It's something more complex, and that's why here, when I put my mouse over the smart button, I see a method linked to it, which is action view MRP production, because Odoo is going to proceed with this operation of finding it back. I can actually look at this method just to see what it is inside. Action view, I think, MRP production, which is this one, and here in my code I will see that it's then going to look at my MRP production like this, and yes, yeah, ID and MRP productions IDs. Yeah, so it's going to look and extract from in the action, you know, the manufacturing order that corresponds to a certain ID, and that's how it's done. And that's this logic that we need to insert as well if we want to populate the field of the sale order line on the manufacturing order. So, I mean, that's it. Let's maybe move on to the next questions. But about this one, as I said, especially the first one, I keep the page open here, you know, so that if you want to discuss it again, feel free to add your question in the chat. Okay, so next question from Bateza. How do you enter two phone numbers in one contact, mobile and landline? Here, maybe what could be interesting in that kind of question is to understand why, you know, you would need two different phone numbers, because, for example, if we decide to let's imagine, okay, I take an assumption. If it's because you want to send an SMS, automatically to this phone number, here, I think the SMS that is done, for example, when you confirm a certain transfer is the SMS, I'll say the email address, the phone number, of the contact. And indeed, it's supposed to be only one here. I'm not sure that, actually, I'm not sure that we can, as we can for the email address, put several phone numbers one to each other. For example, if I do like a comma and add another phone number here, like this, and if I try to call it, yes, you see, so it's going to call like my phone number with the two different, things next to it with the comma. So there is nothing here that's going to plan that you have, inserted two phone numbers at the same place. If your purpose, once again, is to send information to the both phone number at the same moment. So I would say in that case then to add only one phone number, on the contact if you need to, but most probably to create a subcontact for the landline, as you said, with the different phone number, so that you store the information, but at the end, those are two different contacts that you want to reach. And then, indeed, if you want to call the first one, then you go there. And if you want to call the second one, you go there. But at least, those are two different places where the information is stored, and that's how it should be done in Odoo, so that from one contact you can have multiple, indeed, phone numbers, but at different places. Once again, my answer might depend, of course, on what you want to achieve at the end, depending if you want to automate the SMS that is sent, to the contact at some point, or if you want to make it easy for the salesperson to know who they should contact, but manually then. And I think in that case, the answer this answer is the best. And for the case where you want to automate the person that the phone number will receive some SMS, for example, you might need to do it maybe in a slightly different way, and maybe with a bit more of logic and automation. But that's something that we need to discuss, most probably with a practical case. All right, let's go to the next question. So from Numan. Hi, can we perform an analytics search in the partner ledger in Odoo? For example, is it possible to filter or group partner ledger entries based on analytic accounts or analytic tags? Let's take a look. So if I go here in my accounting and in my case partner ledger, yeah, correct. What we see indeed is by default, we might not, but maybe let's take a look first if I activated the analytic accounting in my database. Maybe not. No, it's not the case. Okay, let's start by this. I think that with the demo data, we should have already some plans and accounts that are created. Yes, correct. And let's just take a look if in the yes, we have some analytic items. Good. And in the journal entries, we don't have access anymore to the journal items. Maybe not from here. Yes, okay, it's there. And here, let's see if we have some analytic distribution that are defined. Maybe not so much. Okay, so for the purpose, let's just create an invoice for a customer, and here add a line with a certain analytic distribution. Okay, why not this one? And okay, it should be good. So here my invoice should appear in my partner ledger. Let's just duplicate the page to keep the reference and jump into it. Here, so it was for Deco Addict. In that case, my invoice is number 10. So it's this one here. All right. So we have an information. So now your question is, of course, I know because I just did it that this let's say entry is linked to a certain analytic account. How can I retrieve it? So by default, if we don't have the option that are, let's say, displayed in the above button, we can still take a look at the settings of the report with the debug mode and see if that's something that we could activate or not. So let's go on it, and here in the options we have some options. What we see is that on the right we have analytic filter and analytic group by that are options to be selected. Let's activate both to see if it changes something in the interface, and it does. And for example, now I could maybe come back to my camp to camp Azure interior. I think it was this one, or maybe the other one. Let's try both. But the impact is not so relevant for now. Let's try to use the other one to see if this one is working. No, okay, but here it groups it. Okay, so it's a group by for the columns, of course, depending on what we are choosing. But still, the values that we are just showing is not really linked to what I would have expected, because here my invoice is number 10, linked to my analytic account, but still it does not appear, let's say, in the right section, because it's still here on the right with the total amount that is computed, which is 575. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't really work, let's say, out of the box for now. I mean, we could even try with the plan, but I think there will not be no difference. No, not in that case. So it's not working. Okay, so maybe, yeah, I mean, that's something that is probably done. Limitation most probably of the report itself. That cannot, let's say, tackle and use those out-of-the-box filters to be played with. Most probably because the filter by default are, let's say, using something that is not part of the partner ledger or something like that. You know, so the options are here. You can, as I showed you here, activate it. But most probably you cannot use it like this. Yeah. I want to make just another test, because here, of course, it doesn't work. Yes, I'm in 2025. In that case, my analytic filters are removed. Okay, so yes, of course, because I just moved through to another report, it makes sense. Yes, all the accounts, it doesn't change anything. Yes, no, most probably I think it's not going to work. Gauthier, can you come back just a bit more to the questions? Yes, if we look, let's try something else, but I don't have a lot of... if I type camp, no, it doesn't work neither. Yeah. So yeah, I would say no. I would say not on this report, but if your purpose at the end is just to get the information, you know, based on your partners, maybe what they own you for a certain period of time, you know, and based on an analytic account, what you can still do is to create a spreadsheet for that, starting from the, let's say, analytic items. And here I just look at the sales part here, and I look at my sales of products, like my 400 account here. And so there I have my analytic distribution. I could insert this in a spreadsheet, and I could maybe before that I could do it like this, most probably. Yes, here they group it by partner. Very good. And so that I see here how it is done. I could even decide to there group it by entry. So here the co-addict number 10 is here. Insert this in a spreadsheet like that. And there, if I play with my filter and decide to look at my analytic account, let's try. So if I go back here and look for camp to camp, I will add both because I don't know which one I selected. Yes, you see it works. So then what you can do maybe is to think about just building the right spreadsheet in your case to make it look good. Of course, here I did it in 2 seconds. Okay, so but if you maybe spend a bit more time just to define it properly and see how you want it to be displayed, that could be an option. And then of course play with the corresponding filters to show what are the amounts, you know, for each of the person. Of course, in that case, maybe apply a filter as well, so that you only see the one that are not reconciled yet. So yeah, that's something that you can play with, you know, and if you want to edit this content. But that's something that is pretty common, okay? So it's not surprising that I advise you to create a spreadsheet for that kind of reporting purpose in accounting, because that's something that we are used to, even let's say internally, if we want to just at some point get a very specific way of displaying data based on some criteria. I think still it's a good idea, you know, to start from the standard report and see what we have with the standard options. But from time to time, it might not be enough, and yeah, the spreadsheet is a good way then to meet this kind of need. Okay, Juliana, indeed, I see that you answered to the questions that I asked you, so good. It's important for me to export Excel data from Odoo report of consumption, but I did not find complex solution for a batch of different products for a period. So it's important for me to export Excel data from Odoo, a report of consumption, yeah, but I did not find complex solution for a batch of different products. I can add a simple number in the third line, but it's important to have the opportunity to see this unique number for all sequential MO, and I have no solution now because of link between sales and manufacturing app. Yeah, all right. But maybe it's just because I don't get your point. But here, when you start from the stock move here and take a look at different consumption that are done based on the manufacturing operations, I mean, you get kind of a report of consumption that you can export here. So if I decide to export here my data, I will get indeed a summary of what has been consumed, you know, for each product. And yes, in that case, source in this intermediate location and see indeed what have been the consumption of my goods for a certain period of time. So I would say that's still part of the solution. But in your case, it's just that you mentioned for a batch of different products for a period, but of course different products will be displayed here. I don't know if I think what you want, what is maybe the common in between your two questions, is this link, you know, in between the data, between the sales orders and the MO, and then between each of the MOs that you have afterwards. And indeed, it's not something that is really done in Odoo. I know that there was a way in the past, but I don't know if it still works in Odoo 19. Because there is this field, of course, but it seems to me that in the stock move, so if we go back to the inventory app, here in the move analysis, and look at the fields, procurement values, yeah, is that what I want? Let's go to a version in the past, like 18, for example. No, I want to go to my moves analysis, yeah. Group ID, yeah. The procurement group. I know that in 18 this was a way here on my stock move to come back to my sale order reference and to display it at some point. But here, my group ID, my procurement group, in a more general way, doesn't seem to be there in my 19 database. Let's go to my fields, and let's say procurement for my rated model. yeah, this model does not exist anymore, I think, in my database in Odoo 19, because the logic is probably different. So yeah, I most probably it's not something that we can reproduce in 18. If you start from that field here with some related field, you can come back to the sales order ID, but keep in mind that it is only valid for the first MO that you create, MO that for the finished product. But for all the sub manufacturing orders that you have, it's not going to work, because of course it's not let's say depending anymore of the SO. It's depending on of a reordering rule at this point, and this reordering rule process makes that you lose this logic of the corresponding production. Why? It's because in Odoo, if you decide to let's say if I sell at the same moment 2 finished products, of course, I will get 2, maybe if I'm in manufacturing to order 2 different MOs for those two finished products. But for producing my semi-finished goods, Odoo is going to gather everything together, because that's the way the reordering rule is working. And if we don't want it to happen, we need indeed to be in MTO all along the way. And but even like this, I don't see exactly how we can manage. I mean, simply from the interface to get the same reference at every place. So I think in your case, Julian, to get the reference of the sales order line, you might need to at some point to do some development, I think. I think it starts with first, because it's complicated because your case is pretty advanced, and it's complicated maybe to not be able to discuss it, let's say, directly. But yes, I think it's because in your case, I guess that here, for example, I want to produce one semi-finished product. So you want to probably get one manufacturing order for this semi-finished product, and not maybe for different manufacturing order at the same time. And that's something that is not completely done here, because indeed Odoo is going to make them all together. Maybe it's not the case if I decide at my semi-finished product level to express that I want it to be as well, not with manufacturer but with replenish on order. Let's try. I will do it again. So I'm going to sell first one finished product. All right, and then another one, maybe for a different client. And let's see if I'm in my manufacturing, then I get some different operations. Yes, I do. Okay. So here it's not summed up, because it could be if I was not in replenish to order, I think, but here, let's say, the difference is done. So I think, so that's one step, but I think there, then to populate that field, you need to insert a logic. The logic is not so big, but you need to put some code, probably, just to look at the source, to look at the corresponding product, and to retrieve the corresponding sale order line so that you get the reference of your order at this point. If you just want to get the order, that's good enough, because it's just in the source. But yeah, at least when I do that, now if I group it by source, it's pretty good, because I can directly see. Yes, but no, because the reference operation is still different. Yeah, that's what's a bit tricky. Yes, I think I think some code is needed here to get the reference to it. Yes, so that's for the question 2. And for the question 1, as I said, I would start from the stock move analysis and try to play with that with some filters on it to get the right report. Okay, let's move on. So from Oliver, what is the Odoo's recommended way to customize reports like invoices? I see some people start from scratch and some inherit the standard. Both have ups and downs. Thing is that, so let's take the example of the invoices indeed. So what you need to know is that if I go to the reports here, I get all my reports in my database, and one of them is my invoice PDF. And if I look at the views that are generating my report and this one, I will see this message here, telling me indeed that if I'm changing my report from scratch, directly by going into it and changing my content, I will get a problem because, so here's going to, of course it's calling another one, but anyway, because it's going most probably to be overwritten during the next upgrade or update of my module. And that's what is the biggest down that you have, as you mentioned, is the fact that changing directly the report itself and the views themselves is an issue, because at some point it might be removed during the next upgrade. So that's why people indeed decide to here create a narrated view with a custom name and a custom ID, adapt of the view. Here, make it with a high sequence, and then start playing with the XPath to adapt and change the things on it, like this. By doing so, like, you don't change the base view, it will still be the same, and it will be still updated, by Odoo without any problem. But at least your inherited view is something different that Odoo is not going to erase or update, and that's still going to apply the changes on it. That's the theory. So that's what we recommend, okay, as an approach to modify your report. Now, if you are, let's say, on Odoo Online that you want to play with Studio to do it, Studio has, let's say, makes it possible. So if I open here my invoice PDF, so if I just edit the sources here, I will be on the same report as the one that I told you. So changing it directly in the body is changing indeed the base view, and so is not the best practice. But what I can do is to duplicate my report, and at that moment I get a copy of it here, which is, let's say, my custom invoice report. And this report has a big difference, that now the label of my view is Studio Customization something. So it's a copy of the previous one, but here I can adapt it, I can apply changes directly in the body of my report, because this is a view that is completely different from the one that is standard, and there indeed I can apply some changes directly in the body of my report. So that's why. So if you want to adapt the standard report itself, you might need to do some inherited view and to do it like this, because it will be the proper way to do it. If you want to duplicate the report, it's different, because this duplicated version of the report is specific to you, and it's something that you can adapt directly. Of course, you need to be careful, because once I do it, there I get, of course, my second report, which is my custom one. But if I just come back to Odoo and just click on send by default, Odoo is going to here present me with an email template and a PDF of invoice, which is not the one I have customized, because by default Odoo is still going to take the one that is standard. Okay, so we need to change it also in the different places where this report is mentioned. Here the invoice sent by email. Here is where I can find back the, let's say, the dynamic report to be added, and here I can select here my custom invoice report if I want it to be attached to my email. And that's something I need to do. And you need also to think about the fact that it's also going to be the case when I go to my invoices here and look at my preview. The preview is also going to load the report that is the standard one. Okay, and so yes, you might need here to just make it different and make sure indeed that that it is the one that you want that's going to be displayed at the end on the portal. Yeah, I think that's it. So that's why indeed I think the first approach is the best one. Is in that case for some report like this, to play with inherited views to modify it. But in some other cases, the fact of duplicating the report is good enough. Okay, and you might go with that because it should be good, yes, for your customers. So that's a bit about the recommended way, So yes, two different options, and each of them has some benefits. But the first one is probably the most the strongest one, for some report like an invoice. All right. Next question from Akshat. Could you share insights on Odoo 19 inbuilt capabilities for field auto computation and conditional field visibility? In my current setup, I've added 4 computed fields that handle basic calculations. However, my client now wants a setup where upon selecting millimeters, only the millimeter manual and automated fields are visible, and upon selecting in, only the corresponding in fields appear. My client wants a setup where upon selecting millimeters, only the millimeters manual and automated fields are visible. It's just, I will try to answer the question, Akshat, but maybe if you can, I want to make sure what millimeter and mm and in are meaning, you know, in that case. Maybe just give me a bit of business need behind, you know, your question, that I can maybe understand a bit more what is the purpose of it behind. What's a bit surprising to me is that if we only mention about visibility, and so I'm still going to, let's say, to answer your questions based on what I know from what can be done with Studio. I mean, some fields, let's say maybe not category, let's add a field, let's say, by yourself, like let's say custom field like this. But let's say that I want this field here to only be visible if my category, let's say product category here is equal to drinks. No, it's the reverse. Okay, so if it's different to drinks, then I want it to be visible. Yes. Okay, so there, if I look and select my drinks field, drink value in my category, of course my field is going to be displayed. So that's why it's a bit surprising to me, is because let's say this behavior is pretty much easy to get, and I guess you know that part. Okay, so what I would like to know is what is missing here, because so this part, let's say, could be a way, of course, to directly display and show different fields in my interface. And I think the fact that you decide to have some computation does not change anything. Like I could decide as well to say, let's do it. If I go in my fields and look at my custom and category as well here, so category ID, and let's say I get to my custom field, a compute here for record in self, and so I could say if record category ID dot ID is equal to and then the category of drinks, which is 12. Then I want my record Studio custom field, let's say, to be equal to I'm thirsty, something like that. And else, I need to add it here, and else this record should be just empty. All right, and to make it depend on my category ID update. I mean, then if I come back to this here, let's say change it back to a different category. Of course, I'm going to lose the value of my field. I have an error. Okay, I just added one more in my expression of my fields. Let's come back to it. So, yes. All right. So if I go back to furniture, my field disappears. If I just come back to drinks, my field appears and is computed. If I change it again, of course I will lose it again, but if I even look at the data of my model, here and my custom field, it's empty. Okay, so we see that even if it's not displayed anymore in my view, it's still computed. So that's why that's what I mean. Like I would like to maybe you to explain a bit further what you mean based on this small presentation, you know what is missing. Like say what in your case is not enough to make sure that you have both the computation and the conditional visibility that is applied, you know, for those fields, depending on what you select. So here I choose category, but it could be anything else, of course. So yeah, tell me. But I think it should be. I mean, if that's what you mean, it should be enough. But of course, maybe it's not the case. All right. Okay, so next question from Praveen. Hi, how to make the stages move only forward, not backward? And those who are with the permission should have the access to move the stage backward. Ah, that's a good case. Let's do it for project, for example. Or, you know what, CRM maybe. Why not? Ah, I don't have CRM installed. Okay, so let's install it quickly. I think what we could play with are the sequence of the stage. So let's go to the CRM. Yes, so here we have new qualified proposition and one. And so if I look at the stages of my pipeline, I have here some sequence field that are displayed, and I would like to maybe show it if it's not part of my view yet. Yes. Sequence 1, and so I will see that for the rest, sequence 2, 3, and 70. So my stages are organized by sequence. So I could say indeed that I don't want to be able to say to edit a record, or at least to have a warning or an error message if I move a record from one stage that is lower than the current stage. That could be a good option. I don't see a way to do it through record rules, or at least not in an efficient way. No, I think we need to do it with an automation. Let's try to think about that. So here, let's say all right, we want to make it on create and edit. Let's say that we want to trigger it only when we change the stage, but before the change, we should have an ID, because if we don't have an ID at the beginning, here we might have an issue. Oh, we cannot say anymore is set. I mean, okay, let's make it different. Let's say created on is set. All right. So let's do it first. And here in the code, so if, and then here I need to look a bit at how it's organized in my CRM app. So I have a reference to my stage ID first that I need to look. So my stage is called stage ID. Very good. So if yes, it's not so easy actually, because I need to kind of compare data of the current value with the data of my past stage, which is not so easy because here I cannot really access it like this. What can I do? Or I could maybe play with what I could try is the following. Let's try to do something which is having a field somewhere, like a field which is a minute one, which is linked to my stage of my CRM. And this field, let's say, is my previous stage. And I want this field to be in read-only because I don't want people to modify it by themselves. Then this field here should be updated every time. So I go here in my fields and I have my studio field. And let's say that I want this field okay, let's make it first like this. Let's keep it easy. And let's say make it change on the stage ID. Because now if I move it to new, okay, then I have a problem. Yes, I just forgot the ID in my formula. Studio. Could put .id, I think. Let's try. Yes, okay. But for no problem is that here my value of my previous stage is the value of my current stage. That's why it's a bit tricky. So what we need to do is to make sure that this value is computed based on the value of my previous stage, but it's not so easy. How can we do that? Maybe the only way to do it would say that I now need to have a server action to do it. Let me tell you what I think of it. So what we can do, so it's not anymore to play with an automated action. So this one I can archive it for now at least. What I will do is to create a server action, and this server action will be move to the next stage, and we'll make it on the CRM lead like this. Because there I could say, so if record, so I first, oh, yes, confirm, yes, no problem. Yes, okay, but anyway, that's not the problem. So here, what I want is to make sure that I first want, yes, confirm, okay. No, okay, we'll refresh my page. That it will not bother me anymore. Okay, and say move to the next stage. Okay, so let's move on. CRM lead, execute some code, and let's say if record. First, I want to my record previous stage ID, which is Xstudio previous stage, I think, to be equal to my record stage id.id, and then to make my record stage ID equal to the next one. Let's say, so for now I will just put 2 like this, create contextual action, and there I'm going to add here a button and link it to my server action, which is not appearing first. I think I need to export it, that it gets an ID. Let's try to do it first and see if it works. So my new button, yes, so here I have more things, and move to the next stage is there. Okay, and I can call it move on. So let's imagine that I'm in the new stage then. I can move on. Okay, and here still my previous stage is computed, but that's because of my computation that I put on my studio field. So it's not, it's working, but it's just that this one is taking the lead and that I need to remove it as well. Okay, let's start again. So I go in new, I move on. Yes. So now I'm in qualified, and my previous stage is new, which is a way, of course, to store the information. But here, I mean, this part is just something that we can think of. But anyway, I mean, now that we have this and that we have this button to move on to the next stage one by one, I need to make sure that I cannot, let's say, make it different. But the problem is that here, it's really not easy. I mean, the question is basic, but it's very complicated in terms of interface. I mean, because the user still has the option here from the interface to make it move to one step to another. And even the way I completed this interaction is not so good, because of course I forced it to the stage number 2 for the next value, so it's not so good. Because my idea was indeed then that if I want to come back to a previous stage which has an ID lower than my current stage here, so that I should get an error, of course, that prevents me to do it. But is it possible in the Kanban view to make people not able to move it from one stage to another? But I think it's not the case. This drag and drop, because here, of course, we could decide to make it here. Make this field is read-only, that people cannot by themselves decide to move it. So we need to go with some button, and so people can decide to use the button to move to the next step. And we could say no, but it's only admin. We can make it move to the previous step. So that's we play with server actions that can allow it to move on or to move backward. And with Studio, we can make sure that when you select the button, we can make an approval step and decide that it's only the admin, we can move on, and the one that can come backward. That could be a way, of course, to make it work. But the problem is that here in the Kanban view, it's still possible to drag it whatever we do. Or we can say, then maybe in the Kanban view, it could be an assumption that we decide with an automation to say that if we are just modifying the stage ID, whatever we do, then I want to get an error message, to execute some code and use the raise error function or user error. I don't know the expression exactly, but that's something that we can probably find here. Yes. It's maybe raise user error. I don't know. Yes. So that could be a way. And then, of course, as you restrict that part, people cannot, let's say do it like this. But if I even, yes. So it could work. But it should not be triggered, of course, if I'm doing it through the server action. Or it should not trigger an error. It's tricky, okay? So I think maybe we'll see if at the end of the session we have a bit of time to think about it, Pravin. But as you see, it's really not easy, I think, to put that in place, because there are a lot of, let's say, corner case to think about. Because here we really want to go, let's say, against the logic of Odoo, which is the interface and everything that goes with it. I would maybe advise to refer to the messages, here that are displayed in the chatter, to make some kind of reporting and just see exactly if people went step let's say, decided to move to an earlier step than before for some reason. But yes, in my opinion, based on what I investigated here in the interface, the thing is that we cannot really, in automation, use some criteria that allows to let's say to use a sequence of the stages as a criteria to trigger an action or not. And here, compare it with the previous stage to the next one, it's really not something that seems to be easy, because we cannot, let's say, here put some formulas or some comparison in between the values. And also we want to compare two different stages, like the before and the after, but the action is only triggered on the after and not the before. And so we kind of lose then this data of the previous stage, which is what we wanted to get afterwards. So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but anyway, I mean, you will see if we have time at the end to discuss that. Vadim, you came back about the question of the calendar. On calendar default privacy set to public, isn't there a privacy issue? How can external users see my calendar and all my events if it is set to public? I mean, that's a question that is maybe not linked exactly to Odoo, and I cannot really show you that with my own calendar, because I'm using Google Calendar in my case. But on Google Calendar, from time to time, I can just try to invite a customer to an event or someone I work with, which is not part of Odoo, and from time to time its calendar is appearing, okay, in my interface. So I guess that's how it works, So from time to time, just by adding someone to your calendar event or to your calendar invite, which is not inside of your company, you see what is part of the calendar, and that's probably in the case where it is set to public. So that might be the reason why you have this kind of situation that that the public option exists. Of course it's a bit weird, because maybe people it's not really let's say relevant that everyone sees what you have in your calendar, but yeah, I think that's what public means. Once again, we need to test it, okay, because by default, when I created an event, the privacy was not set. Okay, it was not set to public; it was just empty, and I don't know what the empty is meaning. Okay, so that's why we should try it maybe first to see what it looks like, because maybe nothing means that it is private by default. I don't know, and maybe we need to set it to public manually if we want it to be public. So I would not, let's say, give a conclusion on that. Vadim, I think we need to try. But I think for that we need a practical case, of course, for it to work. But having two users on the database and see indeed if I want to access the calendar, maybe we can try it here actually. Why not? Because here, let's try. So here I will just create an event. Let's say public event with a question mark for Mitchell admin, and I'm going to create a new users in my database. Or Maggie Davidson, why not? Maggie Davidson, which is not someone who has high access rights, so it should be good. And here I'm just going to, change the password. Okay, and connect with her account. And there, if I go to calendar and I want to see the calendar of Mitchell admin, yes, indeed, it seems to be accessible by default. While this one was busy, because it was private. So yeah, but that's still because I'm an internal user, and that's why here it would be interesting, maybe just to go on Google Calendar, on Outlook, whatever. Just try to add someone who is using the Odoo calendar in that case and see if the event name is appearing or not. That's something that you can try, Vadim. But yes, complicated to determine it from that use case. All right, let's come back with Mitchell admin. Okay, I don't know my password, so let's connect differently. All right, so next question from Riba. Can you share examples of successful automation using Odoo that save time and reduce cost? That's a good question. I think that's a good point. I think to be clear, like the most successful automation that you do in Odoo are the ones that are the simplest and that brings the highest added value. Okay. And of course, this answer is very basic, but that's still important to keep that in mind. So like from time to time, if you want to automate something, it should be something that happens a lot, that is very frequent and that is something that you don't want to do manually and that is simple, because the more let's say you need to add some code or the more you need to go through the very complicated automation rule to make it work, the more you increase your technical depth and at some point maybe increase the chance of having a bug or something like that occurs. So that's why here the first focus should be that. Then about some examples that I have in my mind. It's funny because of course I did it a lot, but it's funny that I'm not really able to give you examples right now. I think the best automation rules that we can do first is the one about like create an activity or this one, or send an email, but about communication, because from time to time the thing that we are doing in Odoo is saying, okay, if I do an action on the contact, I want that automatically something happens in the CRM. Or as we just got earlier, about the stages in the CRM, from time to time, just having a warning or a message appearing, but nothing that is blocking the access right, is enough. And so creating an activity just to share the information that something specific has happened on a record is, in my opinion, first the best automation that you can do in Odoo. Then, of course, about the update record or the execute code to update the current record is also a good idea, because that might be a good idea, but as I said, if you can still keep things easy and short as much as possible, so that it is readable for the end user, it is, let's say, you reduce, as I said, the chance of bugs. Why don't I have any idea in mind to? But it's true that Odoo is also getting so complete that it's less and less common, let's say, to put some automation in place in some flows. So we need to sit, at the level of a business case and see exactly how it can be done. Yeah, sorry, I don't have an idea in mind, but if I do, okay.
Maybe just reordering rules,
Yeah, but
that's a basic example. But
yes.
It takes time.
It's true that you did not mention. I was thinking about studio, let's say, automation or thing like that, but you're right, the GOAT.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right that, yes, you have also standard automation in Odoo as the reordering rules, and that's completely right. Things that are at some point is just set up, but it of course has helped you a lot, of course, to work in your day-to-day work, because you don't need to think then about replenishment, because Odoo is going to do it for you. So that's right. The fact that you can, for example, on the website, automate the creation of an invoice, when you, like this here, when the online payment is confirmed. Everything that is indeed based on the standard settings, of course, but the pricing as well, if you properly configure your contact and then automatically, like the quote and so on, is going to be completely configured. So yes, that's maybe indeed my best answer. My first answer would be this one, is to use first the standard automation and to explore it as much as possible before thinking about studio automation that you might need to put in place. Because I think it's underestimated, everything that you have, especially, for example, at the level of the contact here, that has actually an impact on all the rest of the flow once you start implying this contact in the case. So yeah. You can also do it with the barcode, which is kind of an automation as well. So not especially with the point of sale, but on the product, that you ease the work of the work in the warehouse as well. So yeah, that's clearly here the answer that I could give. All right. From Mohamed, next question: can we change delivery slip or invoice report pattern? Yes, you can change each report that you want in Odoo. okay, but not each report is as easy as to be modified as any others. But I mean, it depends also on your level, on your technical level in Odoo. If you are a bit, let's say, a bit new to the world of Odoo, a bit maybe unexperienced in terms of development, and you are on Odoo Online, for example, changing report is a bit, as I explained before, possible with Odoo Studio. So when I open Studio on my database and I look at the report, I can here access my standard report that are displayed here. And so I can make changes, very small changes here by typing. Okay, if I want my due date to be my very due date, I can. Okay, so it's something that I can do, and I can change the content of my report like this. But as long as you want to go a bit further and to add more specific information or dynamic content or whatever, indeed at some point you might need to go into the code and to do it with a cleaner way, you know, and to just apply the changes in the right way. And that's something that requires a bit of knowledge and development, you know, in the way the XML views are working in the database. Also, you need to know, and delivery slip is very a tricky example, because a delivery slip is based on a stock transfer in a database. So if I go to my inventory and look at the delivery order, a delivery order is a nightmare, you know, from a technical point of view. I'm joking, but here it's kind of true, because you have many different stages that can happen. But you can also have many different situations in which your delivery order is in, you know, like, do you have some packaging? Do you have some slot and serial number? Is your product available or not? All of this makes that your the status of your delivery order is still going to be slightly different from one step to another. That's why here, simply opening Studio and deciding to modify your delivery slip like this might bring some unexpected situations, because maybe you are not thinking about all the corner cases that should be done. That's why Studio and, let's say, editing the views by yourself when you are not really a developer is something to be done, you know, with a bit of common sense. And let's say, if I want to modify an information that is very clear to me about what should be done and so on, that's fine. And usually you can estimate it, you know, based on the number of hours you want to spend on it. But as long as you need to spend, let's say, more than 6-7 hours on the topic, I think it should have been better from the start, simply to ask a developer to do it with a specific module, and to, let's say, so that he knows exactly what should be taken into account in that case. I tell you that because that's what we do at Odoo. For our own implementation, we decide that, for example, the invoice report can be modified with Studio. That's possible. But in the case of a delivery slip, we advise our consultant to contact a developer to do it properly. You know, and that's something that is not, let's say, is not a rule that should be applied for everyone in the Odoo community, of course, but it's the rule that we apply here internally, because it's all a question of not spending too much time, you know, as a functional consultant, modifying something that a developer would do in a much more efficient way, you know, and a cleaner way to make it, of course, also more consistent in the future. So yeah, just take into account the nature of the report and how complex it is, and that's something that you can estimate just with your Odoo knowledge, you know, and what kind of record do you have in front of you, because that's basically indeed going to give you an insight about this. So yeah, I hope it helps. Okay, but yes, so to answer your question, Studio is a way. You can also create views manually, you know, and so on, create a module for that, but then it's all a question about your own knowledge and your capability of doing it. Anyway, I will always advise you to first do it in a test database. Okay, so duplicate your database, try to do the changes, then explore a bit of cases that your customers or yourself could meet in practice. And then, indeed, you can reproduce it for your production database and for your real cases that are going to happen. Great. Next question from Loic. Can I connect AI with Odoo to automate some task? You can, starting from Odoo 19. Okay. So now in Odoo 19, I have an application. Actually, I have a button here already. You know, that allows me to discuss with an AI agent, so that it can do some things for me. Okay, so here I have an error, but it should not be. Okay, so maybe it's because, of course, I did some tests also in my database for the Odoo Insider, but yeah, that's something that you can do. Maybe it's, well, what you need to know, of course, is that, so you have, let's say you have this AI app. You can also install the AI application from Odoo if you want to create and define your own agent and your own prompt. Okay, depending on what you want to do and achieve in your in a database. You need to know that for Odoo online databases, so as the one that I have here, let's say the connection with the AI agent is done by default. Okay, so you can use AI with your subscription, directly in your database, and it's going to work. If you do it on SH, I think you need to provide your own credentials to make the connection with either like OpenAI or Gemini or whatever, but that's something that you need to configure by yourself if you are on Odoo SH or on premise. But except for that, yes, so it's possible you need to play with that. As I said, it could be like on a specific record to ask for interaction with the AI, to write a follow-up answer, for example. So here it doesn't work, but it should be. Okay, and or maybe another example that we have is that in the document application, for example, we might have in the inbox an auto-sort prompt showing, for example, that depending on the nature of a document that I upload in my inbox, I want it to be directly redirected to a corresponding folder in my database, and even to create a vendor bill and so on. So you can go very far, let's say, in terms of prompt to do it. If you want to see practical examples and stuff like that, I think the Odoo Experience website is still there. Yes, it is. And in the website, you have a list of all the talks. And of course, there were a lot of talks about AI during the Odoo Experience. So really don't hesitate to just take a look here. So of course, AI is something that is pretty common at a lot of places. But you have a lot of talks, let's say, showing in different cases with different applications what is the impact of AI in Odoo right now. And that's a good way to understand and to get familiar to this, and then try to reproduce it in your own way. There was especially the one from one of my colleagues, yes, Olivier here, which explained, in 15 minutes how to just set up your own agent, with Odoo AI. And yes, I mean, it was really a success. Many people went there, and I think they learned a lot of things about how to just directly create and manage your own agent in the tool. For example, here, like what it does is to create something similar that we have with Odoo.com right now in the help page. Now we have here this AI that can help us, let's say, to say, okay, how to create a contact in Odoo 19, for example. And so I can ask an AI that's going to then give me an answer based on the documentation of Odoo. And that something is not limited only to Odoo.com, but to any databases that you have with Odoo. And so just explain to the AI agent where the information is stored. It could be in knowledge, for example, where you have all the content, and then just explain that depending on the question that is asked, then the AI can provide some answers. And that's something that is available now in Odoo 19. So that's another example of what is possible. But yeah, that's clearly something to try, I think, for new customers. What is nice with this new feature is that most probably your customers or yourself, you don't use AI a lot in your company for automating your process. So it's a completely change of mind and of mindset that should be done here, because it will never be so true that you are now going to adapt your business to Odoo and not adapt Odoo to your business because of new features like this that are coming to the tool. So yeah, clearly just something to explore. All right, next question from Anjali. Can you please tell me which printer is good for printing event badges with Odoo? Huh. I mean, we can still try to look event.
For Odoo Experience, we are using Epson ones. I don't remember the model, but we might have pictures of them.
But yes, that's what I had in mind, because we do it indeed for our own badges and for the badges of the Odoo Experience. So Epson 1, you think? I mean, Epson is usually indeed the one that we recommend for that kind of... I mean, if you can find the reference, you can still add it in the chat, but...
Yeah, I'll try to find it and post it in the
Great.
chat. Yeah.
Perfect. But yes, because of course there are some pages about the hardware that we recommend in some app, and that's the case for the point of sale and for the inventory. But it's true that for the event page, I'm not sure there is something like this. Maybe let me take 1 second to see if in my notes I have something like that, because it might be the case. Yes, for now I don't see exactly this content appearing, but yeah, that's it's true. That's something that we can think of, maybe adding a, and that's I think something that will happen. We got also some similar questions about attendance, application, and also the hardware that we recommend for that. So yeah, maybe we can think about that. I'm going to discuss with the let's say the expert of the event application to see if we can in some places recommend, or if that information is available. But it's true that for now I don't see it directly appearing. But yes, we experienced one of them, so most probably we could have at least one recommendation to make. But it's most probably an Epson, yeah, because that's most of the printer that we use for now with when we use Odoo. All right, and also I would like to know if I can change the pages view with the help of Odoo Studio. Am I able to add a field, for example? To know if it is possible to modify it with Studio, we need to know if it is possible to open it with Studio first. And it's not always possible. For example, the receipt on the point of sale is not editable with Studio. So for some report, it's not possible. But let's take a look here at an event. Yes, attendees most probably, because that's where you can here print my full page ticket or my badge. So I know that the report then is linked to my attendee, and my badge is this one here. Then if I want to let's say if I want to go to the report, will I see it? I see it here. So it is indeed part of my of the views I can access with Studio. So it means that you can do it with Studio. Okay. Then it's a bit similar to what I said before, is that it's very complicated for you to probably go simply here and click on the interface and add your information in it. So you might need to go through the sources of the report. Okay. And for that, I would recommend to first duplicate it. Then you get your own version, and then on the copied version to try it to apply your changes. Yes. So here we have this, like we see. I'd like to open it a bit wider, but it's not something that I can do for now. Is it normal? Yes. Okay. It seems to be the case. So we have the four per sheet, because that's how it's going to be organized. Yeah. Start date. I mean, yes. I mean, then you need to find exactly the place where you want to add the information, on it. But for example, here, attendee and attendee company, my placeholder company. So this is probably information that I can play with. Let's try to add something to see if it works. But I need to know then what kind of fields I could add. Barcode, for example. But barcode is certainly already there, yeah, with this one. Sales order ID. So if I do it like this, all right, so the T if I don't really care actually, I can remove it, but the T field there would be sale order, no, it's sale order ID, is that it? Yes, that's it. Save. Yes, well, maybe it's not, but let's make it simpler if I just put a T out. No, well, okay. I mean, we need to take a bit more time, of course, than what I'm doing here to do it. But yes, that's what you need to do. So go a bit, in the code and try to add information that you want and add the place that you want. But of course, some reports are more complicated than others to be edited. This could be one of them, but that's something that we should try a bit, and see how it should be done. Okay, but yes, you can try. At least, yes, we on the test database, as I said, that you make sure not to break anything. Next question from Mumbi. Can I automate using Zapier with Odoo? I noticed there is a sandbox when I sign in at one of your events. I don't know what Zapier is. Jones Millions to automate the work using Zapier. Stop waiting for developers to bring order to your apps. I did not hear about that. To be honest, maybe there is an app, Odoo automation. Yeah, it's an integration. I think it's most probably, but let's try. Do I have an option in the settings to enable Zapier? No, I don't. Let me just try in the apps as well. No, I don't think it's let's say an integration that is part of the standard of Odoo. But it seems that something has been developed, maybe on the Zapier side, that they can integrate their tool with Odoo. That might be indeed something that they do. But except for that, I don't know much about that topic. Sorry. So there's a sandbox when I sign in at one of your events. I don't know which event it is. But maybe you can ask a question, because if you saw a reference to it, at the event, maybe try to find someone who organized the event, and maybe ask them their question, because of course it might depend on the type of event you are referring to. And I see indeed that Gauthier is answering in the chat. Yeah, but
I found the printer, but they're very expensive. There might be other options.
Good. Okay, next question from Raphael, and I think it will be the last one. How to automate accountancy with settlements are not linked straight to an invoice but a general expenditure. I usually allocate an account number for the same type, but I cannot find a way to automate this. So you, but maybe a question is, do you still record, let's say, the expense in the expense application or not? You know, like if it is let's say about your employees or yourself, is that something that you still record on it, or is just as you say, no, you want it to be directly reconciled with the account and you don't record the counterpart in your database? Because of course, if it is about if you record the expense, maybe you can just with the amount matching, you know, having at least a proposition that is done for the reconciliation. If it's not the case, that might be a bit tricky because when you look at the reconciliation models, let's go in accounting and look at this. Where is it? Maybe the reconciliation model not exist anymore. I don't know. I don't know where it is. Asset models. Manage models. Okay. No, they are somewhere, but okay. Anyway. Yes, you know, you could still, I don't know, but you could still play, you know, with when you create your reconciliation models on the amount, you know, that you have here, just, you know, defining all the partners. You know, if it is only linked to the same bank card and then linked to the same partners, you could do it as well. But maybe use this criteria here as much as possible. That at some point you can indeed define that, okay, this is a bank account that should be linked to it, and yes, that you kind of automate it, but indeed you need to have some criteria. So even with the label, the amount, or the partner, but find something that can help you to automate the process. That's the starting point. And then if you do it, that's right. If you cannot, then maybe we might need to find another solution. But yeah, that's what I would investigate for now. And it's, I mean, of course, here it's in Odoo 19, but in Odoo 18, the interface is slightly different, but the principle is the same. So you should get to the same result. Okay, well, thank you guys for today. A lot of questions, a lot of very interesting questions as well. I hope I was useful for you. As a reminder, next week, so it will be the comeback of Antoine.R. Will give the session. And on my side, I say goodbye, and maybe I will give another session maybe in the future, but we keep in touch. Okay, have a nice day and see you.